Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review for you all. This movie is a horror film from France, French language, English subs, released in the year 2023, directed by Pierre Maché, and this film is called Schlitter. So Schlitter is set in the woods. We have a lumberjack, his wife and a young son that are living in this environment, and the lumberjack is actually quite abusive to this young son. So the young son likes to run away from home and play with his best friend. So this is his life, and he dreams of better things, but it's his best friend that he can really seek refuge with. But unfortunately, one afternoon while they're driving through the woods, their father runs over the best friend, and instead of reporting this accident, he dumps the body down a ravine. So the young son is fast forward many years, and now he's a young adult, but he's still haunted by that day. He's still having nightmares, and so he has a lot of resentment to his father. But then one day he gets news that the mother and father have actually been killed in an accident. So he has to travel to his childhood home in order to take care of things. And at the same time, he's going to have to relive his demons. But unfortunately, things are going to go from bad to worse very, very quickly, and the whole situation quickly turns into a nightmare. So what that nightmare is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Schlitter. I had my hesitations coming into this film. It is a lower budget movie. It's a movie that has been unheard of, but the reason why I wanted to check it out is that it's a French horror film. So you guys know that I absolutely love French horror. It's some of the best in the world when it's done properly, so I thought Schlitter was definitely worth the effort because it's free. It was on SBS Demand, which is a streaming service here in Australia, and it was only an hour and 10 minutes long, and so it's not a very long experience. So if it was going to be a bad film, at least I wouldn't have to put up for it for too long, but I had my fingers crossed that this was going to be an uncovered gem. And after watching Schlitter, I will say unfortunately this is not an uncovered gem, and it really does let itself down for reasons that I'll go into a little bit later. But what I liked about this film is that it was actually quite dark. The overall atmosphere was actually quite dreaded, and there was one gore scene in particular that I thought was absolutely fantastic. It actually shocked me because I wasn't expecting that. And so the whole idea of this boy being run over and the demons of the past coming back to haunt this main character, I thought was actually fairly decent. The movie is very brisk in its runtime, so it doesn't really have time to dwell too much on the negatives, but unfortunately that is where the positives stop and this is where the negatives begin. This is a movie that feels like a made-for-TV film because it just doesn't have enough time to flesh anything out. So it's 70 odd minutes. And it's way too short because it gives you the backstory and it's just zooming through that backstory, and you don't get a chance to really relate to any of these characters. And so I always felt like this was a TV show instead of an actual film because I just didn't care about the characters, I didn't care about the situation, and unfortunately the horror set pieces are very cliched, and so it does form a level of predictability. So the film looks very good in the cinematography. The production levels, although it feels like a made-for-TV film, the production levels are actually very good. And the special effects and the gore effects I thought were fantastic. And the overall idea of this, these characters and the situations that they get themselves into, I'm not going to give anything away, I thought it actually would have worked if it had a little bit more time to flesh things out. And so just things feel as though they're happening at fast-forward pace. That it's just glossing over things instead of actually giving you a chance to fully absorb yourself into the situation. So I thought as though the overall story done properly could have actually been a really thought-provoking and heartbreaking film, but unfortunately it just doesn't give itself enough time to allow itself to do that. Whether that was budget constraints, I don't know, but it really does affect the overall enjoyment of the film. There are a lot of cliches, as I said. So the cliches do bring a lot of predictability. The gore scene was fantastic, but unfortunately it's just nothing else that really lasts in the memory. And so yes, it feels like a TV film for all the wrong reasons. It just doesn't have the acting. I thought it was very basic. As I said, I had very hollow cardboard cutout characters because again, it doesn't allow itself any time to seep in. You don't feel the pain on these characters because it's just fast forwarding. And so it tells you that you should feel sorry for them because this is what happened, but unfortunately you can't go on the experience. It just feels like it's at arm's length every single moment. And so yes, it does hit you pretty hard as far as the violence is concerned. It can be a pretty brutal film at times, but unfortunately the impact is not there because you just don't care about the situation. And at the end of the film, I will say that yes, it's an hour and 10 minutes, but unfortunately that's its biggest negative because it does play against it, but it is over before you know it. So it's not a movie that's going to really weigh you down and feel as though it's going for 3 hours. It does go very fast, but unfortunately that's the main film's shortcomings. And so overall I'm going to give this film 2 stars. As far as this type of film is concerned, there is far worse out there. So if you stumble upon it for free like I did, then it's worth a watch. But unfortunately, it's just not going to last in the memory, and it's one of the more forgettable French horror films. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.